I came home on a Thursday. Not late, just past 8. The lights in the living room were on, but everything else was quiet. Too quiet for a house that usually buzzed with her voice. The clatter of dishes, a random podcast playing in the background. My keys landed in the bowl by the door. Silence. I called out for her. Nothing. Not a creak. Not a reply. The air felt wrong. I walked into the kitchen. Dinner was on the table. Salmon, potatoes, some green thing she always roasted with garlic. But she wasn't there. Her phone was unlocked. I never snooped. Never cared to. But something in my gut, something ancient and animal, told me to pick it up. It lit up without a password. Open. Exposed. I didn't hesitate. First thing that popped up was a text thread labeled Work Crew. The most boring name for a group chat, meant to be invisible, to be ignored. But I clicked anyway. It was no work crew. Screenshots, photos, memes, but not the funny kind. The messages were laced with jokes about slipping away again tonight. And he still has no clue. Someone sent a photo of a wine glass with the caption, "To stolen moments." Her reply, "Stolen tastes better." My lungs felt like they forgot how to breathe. I didn't even register the rest. I just kept scrolling. It wasn't just one person. It wasn't even clear who she was seeing. But it was a pattern. A system. Coordinated. It was life behind a curtain I never knew was drawn. The bathroom door creaked upstairs. She was home. I dropped the phone on the table, face down. Saturday. Quiet. Heart punching against my ribs like it wanted out. She came downstairs wrapped in a towel, hair damp, humming to herself. She stopped when she saw me. "You're back early." She wasn't startled. She wasn't nervous. She was calculating. "I thought you had that late meeting," she said, drying her hair like nothing was wrong. I just looked at her. No words.
No accusations.
I didn't need to tell her I saw the messages. She knew. Her eyes narrowed, subtle, fast. Then came the move I wasn't ready for. She smirked. That was the moment. That split-second twist of her mouth, like she had already rehearsed her role in this scene. That's when I realized this wasn't new. This was routine for her. I was just now catching up. She walked over, kissed the side of my face like she didn't just set fire to our life.
"I'm starving."
"You haven't touched your food." I didn't answer. I watched her eat. I watched her sit down like it was a regular Thursday, like nothing had cracked in the walls around us. When she left to go to bed, I grabbed her phone again, took photos of everything, sent them to my email. Every message, every photo, every snide little caption. I didn't plan to use it. Not yet. I just needed to preserve the truth. She called out from the stairs. "Coming to bed?" "I'll be up," I lied. I didn't sleep that night. I sat at the table staring at the place where her phone had been. The images played on repeat in my head. That group chat. The toast to stolen moments. The fact that she smiled when she realized I knew. She smiled. That was the beginning of the unraveling. And not the slow, quiet kind. The next day I acted normal. Not because I wanted to, but because I needed to see how deep the hole went. That morning she made coffee. She even hummed while pouring it. Like someone in a commercial. I watched her from behind my cup, wondering if she even remembered what she'd done, or if it just didn't matter to her anymore. At 10:43 a.m., I got a message from an unknown number. "Hey, don't reply to this thread. It's better if you don't." No name, no image, just that. A minute later, another message. A screenshot of my wife in a black hoodie, face partially turned, stepping into a hotel elevator. Beside her, a man. Tall, tan, expensive-looking watch. His hand on her lower back. Her face? Smiling. Same smile she gave me the first year we met. The photo was time-stamped. 2 weeks ago. The same day she said she was at her mother's. My stomach dropped into my shoes. Not because she was in a hotel, not even because of him. But because someone sent it to me. Someone was watching her. Watching us. I didn't respond. I didn't show her. I copied the image, emailed it to myself, and deleted the text. Then I did something I wasn't proud of. I installed a backup app on her phone. It mirrored her messages to a folder on my cloud. Took me 10 minutes. She never noticed. That afternoon I called in sick. Sat on the couch. Waited. By evening, She said she had to swing by Hannah's house. Another old lie. I nodded and kissed her forehead. Drive safe. 30 minutes after she left, the messages started to appear on my laptop in real time. She wasn't texting Hannah. She was texting him. I'll park behind the deli again. His reply, room's ready. Keys at the desk. You looked incredible last time. She sent a selfie. Right there in our car. In my hoodie. Biting her lip. I didn't even feel rage at that point. I just felt cold. Like something shut off in me. I called her sister. No small talk. I said, I know everything. I'm tracking her. If you knew, I swear to God. I didn't, she cut in. But I'm not surprised. She changed a year ago. What do you mean? She started talking like she was above everyone. Said she was done being the settled wife. I thought it was just venting. I didn't know she meant it literally. I hung up. Didn't even say goodbye. 3 hours later, she came home. Fresh hair. New gloss. Her eyes scanned me like she was checking for clues. You okay? I stood up. Calm. Still. Was the deli busy? She blinked. 1 heartbeat. 2. Sorry. I asked if the deli was busy. You know, behind it. She stared. Then, this part I'll never forget. She actually laughed. Are you spying on me now? Wow. Paranoid much? No, I said, reaching for my phone. I'm just reading. I turned the screen so she could see it. The chat, the picture, the hotel, the lie, it all. Her face froze. I waited for denial, a meltdown, some tearful confession. But no, she tilted her head, smirked and said, guess the game's up, just like that. Then she turned and walked upstairs.
No επάλεγει. No explanation.
Just that same unbearable calm. Like I had caught a cold and she was mildly inconvenienced by it. I didn't follow her. I sat on the couch and whispered to the empty room. What the hell is this? And the truth was, it had only just started that I didn't see her the next morning. She was already gone when I woke up. No note, no text. Just the scent of her perfume lingering near the bathroom mirror and the closet door slightly ajar. Enough for me to notice something missing. The small leather duffel she only ever packed when she stayed overnight somewhere. I checked my phone. No messages. But the mirrored app was still running. There it was. A text. 7:06 a.m. Her. I need air. Don't text. Just wait. Him. Room 728 again? Her. Already here. She hadn't even bothered to delete the chat. I didn't go to work. I didn't call anyone. I just sat at the kitchen table staring at the coffee she didn't make. The empty chair across from me. Not because I missed her, but because I suddenly realized just how carefully she had carved me out of her life. That day, I made 3 decisions. I called our bank and froze every joint account. I pulled the login logs from our cloud drive, found where she had stashed her private files, and downloaded every last document, receipt, and calendar entry. I booked a meeting with a divorce lawyer named Hannah Marks. I picked her because the tagline on her website said, "Don't get mad, get everything." That evening, I left a single envelope on the table. No note, just a printout of her messages, photos, and an official financial freeze document stamped by our bank. I didn't plan to confront her again. I'd seen what she looked like when she lied with her teeth bared. But she came home loud. I heard the front door slam open, keys jangle onto the counter, her heels stomping like she was auditioning for some kind of tantrum theater. You froze the cards? I stayed seated on the couch. Yeah, I did. She marched into the room, arms crossed, face twisted into something smug. Not angry, smug. Like this was a game and she thought she was still winning. Do you think this scares me? She spat. I already moved most of the money. You're not the only one who can plan ahead. That got me. Not because of the money, but because she said it like she was proud. Like this wasn't a betrayal, it was strategy. I stood up. You've been planning this? For how long? She smiled. Didn't answer. I took a step toward her. Answer me. Her eyes flicked to the envelope on the table. So what? You dug through my phone, froze the cards, and now what? You want me to cry? Grovel? That's not happening. I'm done pretending to be your wife. Those words didn't sting, they stunned. They split the air. I picked up my phone, opened our shared calendar, showed her the last 10 fake events she'd entered. I held it up. You really thought I wouldn't notice you'd been booking fake meetings to buy time with him? She looked bored. Then she grabbed her phone, thumbed a few times, and without missing a beat, said, "I'm done. Talk to my lawyer only." I said, "Got it." Then I walked over to the table, picked up her wallet, pulled out every card with my name attached, and cut them in half right in front of her. No words.
No threats.
Then I turned, walked into the office, sat down, and locked myself in. 2 hours later, her car was gone. 3 days passed. She didn't come back. No word. Nothing. Then the phone rang. Unknown number. I picked up. "This is Matthew Turner, legal counsel for your wife. We need to discuss the account closures and pending asset division." I hung up mid-sentence. 5 minutes later, my phone lit up with calls. Back to back. Her lawyer again. Then texts. She told him I'd illegally interfered with marital assets. She was trying to flip the script. But it was too late. I had everything. And she was about to learn that betrayal isn't something you walk away from in heels and a hotel robe. The day after her lawyer called for the 5th time, I walked into Hannah Mark's office with a folder so thick it needed a rubber band to stay shut. She glanced at it, then at me. "You're either about to take someone down cleanly," she said, "or this is going to get very ugly." "Both," I told her. We went through every piece. The messages, the calendar entries, hotel receipts charged to our joint account, GPS data I'd quietly downloaded from her phone's synced location history, screenshots of late-night transfers to what turned out to be a hidden checking account under a fake maiden name. Not her real maiden name, a made-up one. She'd been preparing to vanish before I even caught on. Hannah flipped through each page, nodding slowly. "She's good," she said. "She's meticulous, but sloppy in one place." "Where?" "She's arrogant. That's where people like her always mess up." We filed for separation that same day, quietly, fast, and with a motion to restrict financial access. By the time her lawyer called again, it was already done. That night, around 10:30 p.m., the doorbell rang. It was her.
No makeup.
Hoodie. No performance. She stepped inside like it was still her house, brushed past me and said, "We need to talk." I let her. I wanted to hear what this version of her sounded like. She sat down at the kitchen table and looked around like she was measuring the house in memories. But nothing softened her face. "You've made this very complicated." That was her opening line. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. "You were never going to tell me, were you?" She looked at me like that was a stupid question.
No.
I wasn't. "You were just going to vanish?" She didn't blink. Yes. It was her tone that got me. Not defensive. Not regretful. Just honest in a way that felt mechanical. "I don't love you," she said finally. "I haven't for a long time. But I didn't want a messy split. I wanted it neat." "You call that neat? You weren't supposed to find out when you did." I stared at her, trying to decide if this was the real her, or just another version tailored for damage control. She reached into her hoodie pocket and pulled out a thumb drive. "This is everything you're going to try to find. I'm giving it to you. But I want a clean break. No court drama. No public spectacle." I didn't move. "You want leverage?" she continued. "Fine. You have it. But let's not destroy each other." I took the drive but didn't look at it. "Why now?" She hesitated, then said something that chilled me to the bone. "Because he ended it. Yesterday. Said it was too much. Said I was reckless. So it wasn't remorse. It was rejection. She didn't come back because she missed me. She came back because her backup plan bailed. That was it. That was the thread everything unraveled from. She didn't love him either. She loved not being mine. She loved the freedom, the thrill. And when that collapsed, she slithered back into the wreckage hoping it hadn't burned too far. But it had. I told her to leave.
No yelling. No threats.
Just 2 words. "Get out." She stared at me one last time and said, "You're colder than I expected." I replied, "You haven't known me in years." She left. I stood in the doorway and waited until the sound of her car disappeared. Then I locked the door. Not just physically. Something inside me slammed shut that night. A door I didn't even know I had. And the worst part? I didn't feel free. I felt clean, like something had been cut out of me with surgical precision. But that empty space still ached. 3 weeks passed. She didn't come back. Not physically, anyway. But her lawyer wouldn't stop. I was getting emails daily now. They wanted access to the joint property, half the value of my retirement fund, reimbursement for emotional damages, and even partial ownership of my small graphic design firm. Something she'd never once contributed to but had signed her name on when we registered the LLC out of convenience. Every email was more absurd than the last. So I started forwarding them, all of them, to Hannah. One evening, I got her reply, "We're going to set fire to this circus. Be ready." I didn't ask what she meant. That night, I went to the basement to pull some old files and stumbled across a shoebox I hadn't seen in years. Inside were old photos, ticket stubs, tiny scribbled notes she used to leave me on the bathroom mirror when we first moved in. I sat on the floor and went through them one by one. First, I thought it was nostalgia clawing at me. But then I found a letter, unsent, undated, stuffed at the bottom of the box like it had fallen there by accident. The letter was from her. It was meant for him. It wasn't a love letter. It was a blueprint. She had been planning to empty the business account and disappear overseas. There were references to her backup ID, the cash withdrawals marked with specific bank branches, the idea of waiting until Q2 ends. He never notices the firm's finances until tax prep time. She wasn't just cheating. She was trying to erase me. I took the letter straight to Hannah the next day. Her expression darkened as she read it. "This isn't just a divorce anymore," she said. "This is attempted fraud, possibly identity manipulation." I asked her what we do next. She grinned. "We bait the trap." The plan was brutal in its elegance. We'd offer a fake settlement, something big and clean, a total exit package with high appeal. Large cash payout, quick timeline, no media, full NDA. But we'd tie it to one condition. She'd need to come in person and sign. Hannah drafted the documents. We waited. Within 48 hours, her lawyer responded with a yes. That's when the real game started. She showed up wearing designer sunglasses and a new trench coat like she was starring in her own courtroom drama. She walked into the office, gave me a nod like we were colleagues passing in the hall, and sat down across from Hannah. "Let's do this fast," she said. "I've got a flight to catch." Hannah didn't blink. "Of course. Just confirm your identity with the notary, and we'll begin." That's when it all cracked. The notary asked for 2 forms of ID. She only had one. The second was in the letter. The fake one. The room froze. Hannah leaned forward. "Funny thing, this second ID doesn't exist. But your signature on the loan application under that name? Very real." Her face drained. "I don't know what you're trying to pull," she said. But Hannah was already sliding a file across the table. "We're not trying to pull anything. We're protecting assets. And now we're reporting this. Fraud, identity theft, premeditated financial manipulation. Pick your headline." She stood. And for the first time in months, I saw her falter. Not because she was afraid, because she wasn't in control. She left without signing. Later that night, I got a single message. Her, "Enjoy the house. I'm gone. Don't contact me." And then silence. Not peace, just silence. But in that silence, I finally found something I hadn't felt since this started. Clarity. The silence didn't last. 1 week after she disappeared, I was sitting in the kitchen with a mug of cold coffee and a headache that hadn't left me since the showdown at Hannah's office. I thought it was over, or at least entering some kind of final phase. But then the calls started. First, it was a friend of mine from college. Then my cousin. Then a woman I hadn't spoken to since high school messaged me on Facebook. All of them were reaching out for the same reason. She was smearing me. She'd gone nuclear. According to her, I was the manipulative one. I had hidden assets. I had emotionally neglected her for years. And she had escaped a controlling situation. She made it sound like I was some kind of obsessive ghost clinging to a woman who had simply moved on with grace and independence. She used words like toxic, gaslighting, and emotional warfare. Buzzwords, scripted terms. And they were spreading. But she didn't just target me. She went after my company. Negative reviews began appearing on our Google profile, all posted within the same 48-hour period. None of them real clients. Just venom from fake names and unverified accounts. One review said, "This man treats his employees like prisoners. Don't trust a word out of his mouth." Another simply read, "He's dangerous. Women beware. I knew who was behind it. The phrasing, the timing, the sheer pettiness of it. She couldn't destroy me legally, so now she was trying to salt the earth. I called Hannah. She already knew. We're building the defamation case now, she said. Keep records, screenshots, anything that links her. If we can tie the IPs or timing, she's done. I hung up and stared at my screen for a long time. I should have been angry. I should have been pacing the house, yelling into the void. But I wasn't. I was done feeling anything toward her. What did hit me, though, was something unexpected: grief. Not for her. Not even for the marriage. I grieved the version of me that trusted her. The man who believed in shared futures and Sunday morning pancakes and putting in effort no matter how long it had been. That guy died the moment she smiled when I confronted her. The next day, a letter arrived in the mail. No return address.
No stamp.
Just slid into the mailbox by hand. Inside was a handwritten note. Her handwriting.
No dear.
No from. Just this. You've already won. Why do you still need to crush me? That line sat like a weight on my chest. She didn't care what she did to me. She only cared that I didn't let her walk away untouched. Untouched by consequences, by reality, by the image of herself she so carefully constructed. She wanted me to disappear quietly. Instead, I became the mirror she couldn't break. I didn't reply. Instead, I wrote a statement. A simple, short post. I shared it on my company page, my personal account, and I sent it to everyone she'd contacted. It read, "I've stayed quiet while lies were thrown into the wind, hoping they'd scatter. But when someone tries to burn down your life with a story, you don't stay silent. You show receipts. I have every message, every threat, every attempt at sabotage. The truth doesn't need to scream. It just needs to stand still while the lies fall apart." I didn't say her name. I didn't need to. 3 hours later, her fake reviews started disappearing, deleted one by one. She was running again. But this time, the road was closing in on her. I thought the unraveling would stop after the reviews came down. Didn't. 2 days after I posted my statement, I got a call from someone I hadn't expected to hear from again. Her mother. We'd never been close, but we'd always been polite. She was the kind of woman who smiled tightly, complimented your home, then spent the entire drive back talking about the dust on your shelves. But this time her voice was strained. "I'm sorry for calling," she said, "but I think you should know something. She's in trouble." I didn't say anything. She came here 2 nights ago, out of nowhere, bags in the car. She didn't look right. Paranoid, like someone was chasing her. Kept muttering about people turning against her. I asked her what happened, and she said you were ruining her name. She wouldn't even come inside. Just sat on the porch for 10 minutes, then drove off again. I waited. There was more. She left behind a folder. I don't know if it was meant for me, but it has receipts, bank transfers, notes. She mentioned a man. Not the one from the hotel. Someone else. Someone she said was done playing nice. I felt a chill crawl up my back. "You should come get it," her mother added. "I think it's safer with you." That night, I drove out to her mother's house. An hour away, middle of nowhere. She met me at the door with the folder already in her hands. Didn't ask me in. Didn't want to talk. Just handed it over like it was radioactive. Inside, chaos. The man she'd been meeting wasn't the only one. There were 5. 5. Not all at once. She wasn't even that organized. They overlapped, tangled like wires behind a broken wall. But the one she mentioned last, the one she said was done playing nice, had been sending her threats. Screenshots of messages she'd never replied to. Voicemails of him whispering things like, "You promised me more than this." A picture of her car in the grocery store parking lot. Time-stamped. Close. Too close. That's why she'd been spiraling. She wasn't just running from me. She was running from him. I didn't know who he was. His number wasn't in the folder. Just the messages and one first name, Carter. But it didn't matter. She'd surrounded herself with rot. And now the walls were closing in. The next morning, her lawyer called again. He sounded tired. "She's gone dark," he said. "I've tried reaching her for 3 days. Her accounts are frozen. She withdrew cash and disappeared." I didn't reply. "I assume you won't be entertaining a settlement at this point," he added.
No.
I thought not. Click. That afternoon, I sat down with Hannah again. I want to press forward with the defamation and the fraud claims. I said. No more chess. Let's finish it. She nodded, already pulling up the files. Then it's time we go public with the evidence. She drafted a legal statement, attached the documents, and prepared a press release for the industry networks. Just enough to clear my name without starting a media war. Then she looked at me and asked, "What are you hoping for at the end of this?" I didn't know how to answer. Peace? Closure? Retribution? No, none of it felt right. I just want the truth to matter again, I said. She smiled, soft and bitter. It does. It just takes longer than lies. That night, I went back to the folder. I opened it again and looked through every messy, self-destructive page of her life, her decisions, her ego, her endless spinning web of people she used and discarded like props in some private theater. And I realized something. She hadn't just tried to leave me. She tried to erase me, then replace me with versions of herself she thought the world would love more than the one who stayed with me all those years. But they were all masks. And now the masks were cracking. 2 weeks of silence. That's how long she stayed vanished. No activity on her cards. No messages. Her lawyer stopped calling. Her mother didn't answer texts anymore. For a moment, I thought maybe she'd finally done it. Vanished into some new identity, burned her old life to the ground, left no trace. And honestly, I was fine with that. But on a Monday morning, it all snapped back like a stretched rubber band. I was at my office. Small place. 3 desks, 2 employees, 1 espresso machine that barely worked. We were finalizing a pitch for a major client when my receptionist, Ben, sharp kid, anxious as hell, poked his head in. "There's someone out front. Says she's here to talk about a private issue." I stood, thinking maybe it was someone from court, or a client with a messy request. But when I turned the corner, there she was. Not her. One of them. One of the men. Carter. Tall. Dark denim jacket. Black baseball cap. He looked like the type who thought charm was something you wore, not earned. "You're the husband?" he asked. "Ex-husband," I corrected. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Mind if we talk?" I didn't answer, just gestured for him to follow me outside. He didn't wait for the invitation to speak. "She told me a lot about you," he said. "Said you were cold, controlling, that you watched her sleep just to make sure she didn't leave." I stared at him. "And you believed that?" He shrugged. I didn't care. I wasn't looking for a story, just a distraction. And now, he pulled something from his jacket. A photograph, grainy, printed from a phone. It was her, my wife, standing outside a gas station at night, looking over her shoulder like she was expecting someone. "She owes me money. A lot of it." "Not my problem," I said. He stepped closer. "You know where she is?" "No," I said. And it was true. "And even if I did, I wouldn't help you." He smiled again. "That's the thing about people like her. They make enemies faster than they make memories. And they always think they're smarter than the last guy." I didn't flinch. I didn't ask questions. I just said, "Don't come here again." He looked around, took in the office sign, the windows, the street name. Then he nodded. "Good luck, man. She's all yours." And just like that, he walked off. I stood there, breathing slow, steady, watching him disappear into traffic. And I realized something brutal. I wasn't the only one digging myself out of her wreckage. She'd torn through lives like a storm that doesn't care what it uproots. But now people were starting to follow the trail she left behind. Back inside, Ben asked if everything was okay. "Just a ghost," I said. That evening, I checked the backup folder on my cloud. The Mirror app one installed on her phone? Still feeding. She was alive. Still using that phone. The last ping came from a bus terminal 2 states away. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was running again. And this time I wasn't chasing. Because the next move was mine. 3 days after Carter showed up at my office, I got a letter. Not an email. Not a message. A physical letter, handwritten in blue ink on that thick, expensive paper she always used when she wanted to seem sophisticated. It had no greeting.
No επάλεγει. No tears.
Simply began. "Since you won't talk to me, and everyone else has turned, I guess I'm writing now." The letter went on like she was writing to a therapist. Meandering, detached, self-justifying. She talked about the pressure of being a wife, the boredom, the weight of loyalty. She wrote that our life felt like a museum, that I was obsessed with structure, and she needed oxygen. She wrote that she never meant to hurt anyone. That word again, meant, as if meaning well erases action. She admitted there were more men, more lies, more plans she hadn't gone through with out of mercy. Like sparing me from the full brunt of her betrayal was a favor. Then came the sentence that made my jaw tighten. I know you think you've won, but all you've done is prove what I always feared. You only love when you're in control. Control. That was the word she kept trying to frame me with. Like I was some puppeteer, not the man who paid the bills while she found herself in hotel rooms and text threads. I burned the letter, not in some dramatic cinematic gesture. I just took it out back, lit a match and dropped it into the grill, watched her handwriting curl into ash, and then I made a decision. The next morning I filed an official restraining order. Not because I thought she'd show up again, but because I needed it in writing. I needed the law to recognize what I already knew. This wasn't just a divorce. This was a dismantling of every manipulative root she'd wrapped around my life. Hannah submitted the documentation within the hour. That same day, she also finalized the fraud and defamation claims. We were ready to go public if necessary. Everything was documented, backed up, certified. That evening, as if fate had perfect timing, I got a call from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Later, I listened. It was her. I know what you've done. You think you're righteous, but you're just cruel. You were never innocent in this. I gave you chances to make this civil. You chose war. Remember that. I saved the message, forwarded it to Hannah, added it to the case. But it wasn't the threat that got to me. It was the voice. Not angry, not even desperate. Panicked. She was losing control of the story, of the sympathy, of her version of the truth. And that's when the next twist came. An email from an address I didn't recognize. Subject line, "You need to see this. I'm sorry." Attached was a video. Her, in a hotel lobby, arguing with a man I didn't recognize. Not Carter. Someone else. Older. Sharp suit. Real estate badge on his hip. The audio wasn't clear, but the tone was. She was blackmailing him, or trying to, and he was not playing along. I watched the video 3 times. Then I called Hannah. "We need to go further," I said. "We go public. All of it. The whole trail." Hannah paused for a moment, then said, "You sure? Once we go down that road, there's no crawling back."
No closure.
Just exposure. I nodded. She left nothing unbroken. Let's give her what she really wants. A spotlight. No, I said. A stage. Because when someone builds their life on lies, the one thing they fear most is an audience watching it collapse. We went public. Not TMZ public. Not scandal on the evening news public. But enough. Enough to send ripples through every circle she used to float in like a queen holding court. Hannah published a formal press packet. Professionally worded, backed by timestamps, court filings, documented fraud attempts, voice messages, and that hotel video. Blurred faces, redacted names, but unmistakable in its implication. We didn't name her. We didn't need to. Everyone who mattered knew. Everyone she lied to, borrowed from, manipulated, and used, they knew. And like I said before, lies scream. But the truth stands still. It waits. And then it wrecks. Within 72 hours, she was unrecognizable online. Her pages went dark. Her Instagram vanished. The LinkedIn account she used to brag on? Deleted. Her fan club of friends who once called me too serious and lucky to have her? Quiet. Dead quiet. Then the emails started coming in. From women. Not to condemn me. To thank me. Turns out she'd used this script before. Men weren't her only marks. She'd borrowed money from friends under the guise of starting a consultancy. Claimed emotional abuse to dodge debts. Spun sob stories to get out of leases, bills, and even one legal suit that magically went away before it went to court. She'd built a network of sympathy with trauma that didn't belong to her. And when the mask fell, so did the silence. One woman wrote, "She told me you hit her. That's why I stopped replying to your messages. I'm sorry. I didn't know." Another, "She said you stalked her, that she had to change numbers. I even offered to let her crash on my couch. I feel so used." I didn't reply to most of them. What was there to say? The world was seeing her clearly now. That was enough. And just when I thought the storm had passed, one last twist. An envelope. No return address. Inside was a cashier's check. $4,200. And a note. 2 words. We're even.
No signature. No apology.
Just that. A number I recognized. It was the exact amount she'd siphoned from our company account on the day she told me she was at yoga. I held the check in my hand for a long time. It wasn't an olive branch. It was her final move. One last attempt to write the ending herself. To say, you won. Take your prize. Let it go. I didn't cash it. I scanned it. Filed it. Sent it to Hannah. Then I shredded it. Because I don't need her money. I don't need closure from someone who never truly existed. Not the woman I married. Not the version she pretended to be. I already got what I needed. The truth. The proof. The end. And now I'm rebuilding. Quietly. Honestly. No grand speeches. No dramatic posts. Just real things. Real people. Real peace. If you're reading this because you're in the thick of it, because someone turned your love into a performance and cast you as the villain in their escape plan, hear me. Don't beg them to explain. Don't wait for them to fall apart. Don't try to fix what they worked so hard to destroy. Stand still. Gather receipts. Let the mask fall. And when they finally see themselves in the mirror you refuse to drop, walk away. Not because you lost, because you survived.